Hey, what's the crack, guys? I am the Minyon, and I'm back with some more Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of the Duelist. This time we're going to be talking about deck building. And what's the first deck? My Fiend deck. So, first deck I built as soon as I could was my pride and joy Bakura Deck. Obviously you're not going to get it right the first time around. You're going to mix around with different combinations. I tried to go with the Seal of Orichalcos. The main downside to that card is once you activate it, you can no longer use your extra deck. And the big thing in Yu-Gi-Oh! Nowadays is the extra deck, your Synchro and XYZ. So you need your extra deck. So you take out Seal of Orichalcos, as it works with some decks, not all, and put in something more feasible, something more useful, especially to your dark cards. So probably go with something like Mystic Plasma Zone. Give yourself 500 extra attack, and it also lowers the defense of Dark Monsters by 400, which can also come to your benefit depending on the situation. But of course the main backbone and structure to this deck is of course the Goblin King. The Goblin King and DNA Surgery tactic, it works in so many Fiend decks. You could nearly shoehorn it into almost any Fiend deck and it would probably work because it's a simple combo. It's just a regular 2-card combination that turns all face-up monsters into fiends. Your Goblin King is then powered up 1000 for each of those fiends, and his attack points goes up stupid amount, and his defense, but come on, let's be honest, you're not going to be using him for defense. Another benefit to having Goblin King is if you have 2 of them on the field, they can't attack either one. So even as a defensive measure, Goblin King can still keep you in the duel long enough to hold out and win. The best advice I can actually give you is to just make whatever deck you can with whatever cards you can, because the story mode decks are just absolute garbage. They're not even worth using. So make your deck and just be ready to constantly change it as you unlock more cards, because going through the story mode as quickly as possible is the best way to unlock duelists and then unlock their packs, and of course gain credits at the same time, which will allow you to buy more packs. It would really help to know what packs you're going for if you know what cards you're intending to put in your deck, all of which can probably just be searched for online and you'll know exactly what pack to buy. But trust me, so long as you start off with a simple, nice tactic like DNA Surgery and Goblin King, your opponents, they can't do a thing, especially if their deck is built like Weevil's here for insects. Because I've just changed his insects into fiends, which means a lot of his cards are now completely and utterly useless. And the benefit there is if his cards aren't working for him, he can't mess up my tactics, and you should be able to just storm through the duel, no problem at all. There is other beneficial cards you can add to this deck. You're talking Shard of Greed, because Pot of Greed is gone, it's forbidden. I don't like to use forbidden cards. I like to keep all the cards in the deck up to date with the forbidden rules, because it just adds that bit more of a challenge to it, I feel. So another main card you want to focus on is Grand Mago de Iza. He doubles the attack of any card you tribute summon for him, and because I've loaded my entire deck with heaps of 2000 plus single summon attack monsters, it's very easy to get him up over 4000, and that's just a simple 2-card combination. Now you might need a 3rd card to keep the monster you want to tribute on the field, so I'd have the Destiny board in there as backup for certain decks, but the majority of these cards you can probably lose once you get better cards in your deck. I can't tell you how many duels I've won because of this guy, Great Maju Garzet. Sorry, I took out the other Grand Mago de Iza. He was 2 tributes and he got both their combined attack. This guy was just 1 tribute and he gets double their attack. It's a much better effective move, and it cuts down the amount of cards you need to make the combos, because the more cards you need for the combo, the harder it's going to be to pull off that same combo. You want to keep it short, keep it small, keep all your cards very effective together, because there's no point holding on to a card thinking, oh, I'm going to get a different card later. Yu-Gi-Oh! Doesn't really work that way. It's now or never. You need to use the cards you have as you have them. So I reckon go in, once you unlock enough cards, get your fiend type monsters. Now these are excellent fiends. I got these from the 5Ds deck. Sturgeon Sergeant, Sturgeon Street Patrol and all. They're really, really good. Not only are they tuner monsters, but they also give you a great way of getting your Goblin King out on the field. So I've 3 Goblin Kings and 3 of these Sturgeon guys, and you're nearly guaranteed to get one of them in your first couple of hands, which just eliminates any need to have the likes of Mystic Tomato or anything like that. This is the best way to get Goblin King out on the field, is with these Sturgeon Street Patrols and Sturgeon Security. Excellent cards. Highly recommend adding them to any fiend deck, as they will make it much, much better. And it's all about the combinations you can throw together. Don't worry if a card used to have great usefulness for you, because cards become redundant all the time. They might have got you through some tough times, but there's better cards out there. So, you know, my giant orc is much better because he's dark. So I decided to add him in instead of the goblin attack force, because that also boosts towards the field card I added just earlier on in the video. So yes, everything in your deck has to work together, because you're not always going to be able to wait for better cards. Just use what you have to win while you're playing. Just go for the jugular. You're not in this game to have fun. You're in this game to win, baby. And one of the main ways to win, like I already said, is with the extra deck. Synchro cards and XYZ cards are so efficient, and I think the key to these cards is having maybe one of each level in your deck, because it's all to do with the levels. You have to have the perfect amount of tuner and non-tuner monsters in order to make up the perfect amount of stars for that synchro monster. And you can have one in there for nearly any occasion, any situation, because if the situation calls for it and you might not be able to get to your opponent's life points, then you synchro summon a monster that will allow you to do damage to their life points, like Blood Mephist. Or if you need to eliminate maybe a spell or trap card, then you decide to synchro summon a monster that can destroy any card on the field, whether it be spell, trap or monster. And there you go. That's your way out. That's your one move you need to do to win, and you do it, and you do it well. This synchro monster is perfect for that situation. The enemy I'm against has, I think he's like immune to being destroyed by attack. So obviously that rules out all my Goblin Kings, rules out my my tribute summon monsters. There's nothing you can do against someone if you can't destroy their monster. So you need to rely on your extra cards, your extra deck. Once you summon this guy, activate his effect, and there you go. The duel's a cinch. You've basically just walked this guy in one turn, all with the benefit of your synchro monster. Something you wouldn't be able to do if you kept Seal of Orichalcos in your deck. I'm not saying Seal of Orichalcos is a bad card. I'm just saying that it's not perfect for all decks, especially if you want to focus on the extra deck and get those huge, powerful monsters out in just next to no effort. Another vital set of cards I'm going to just quickly touch on before I move on is the XYZ monsters. Now, synchros are all great because they add together the monsters' levels, and you can literally put synchro monsters in there to suit any situation, but you can also do the same with XYZ monsters. Now basically what they do is they will combine monsters based on their levels. So if they're 2 level 4s, they will add together and go underneath the XYZ monster, and then you remove the material monsters in order to activate those cards' effects. Now they can range from all sorts of useful effects, like selecting a special summon monster on your opponent's side of the field and equipping it to this monster. It eliminates their big card, and it also puts them somewhere where they can't get them back. So they can't get them back from the graveyard, they're not back in their hand, they're underneath my monster, so you can't have them. It's mine, it's all mine, you can't have it. And that is that's a lifesaver in itself. If you've got 2 level 1 monsters, you can summon this guy. Now I can't see myself sacrificing 2 Goblin Kings to summon him, because the 2 Goblin Kings would probably do a better job. But you never know, maybe Goblin King's effect isn't as useful anymore, maybe I've lost DNA surgery and I just have to cut my losses. But either way, you never know until the situation arises. So just be vigilant, be ready to swap out cards as you get them. Some XYZ cards will be better than others. Some will be useless because they're key to the monster's attribute, or they have to be a certain type of monster, so watch out for that. Always try to keep the XYZ cards as just your regular 2 level 4s, 2 level 5s, 2 level 6s. Watch out if they're specific to attribute and type, because then you can't use them and you're basically wasting your move for a monster you can't even summon. But as always, it's the simple tactics in this game that always work the best. Your run-of-the-mill 2-card, 3-card combinations that will save your ass over and over again. So one of the most simplest ones, of course, is DNA surgery, Goblin King, and the ability to create tokens, because tokens can be just spammed onto the field very quickly, usually low cost, and once they're on the field, it doesn't matter if they're beast type, aqua, you name it. You use DNA surgery to turn them into fiends, and now boom, you've just turned your Goblin King from a 0 attack monster into a 5,000, 6,000 attack monster, and that could be the difference in winning you the duel. A lot of cards are great for a time, so you're talking your run-of-the-mill, old school Swords of Revealing Light. Keeps you in the game for 3 turns. It'll protect your monsters. It'll allow you to build up the field and have enough monsters there to give Goblin King enough of a decent attack point. But it kind of ran its course for me. I found there's more often than not, stopping your opponent from attacking you for 3 turns will also allow them to build up their forces and wipe you out just as quick. So although it's giving you 3 turns, it could be giving them 3 turns as well. So I decided to swap it out for the ability to special summon someone who has been removed from play. And because this deck is all about removing stuff from play, you've got your Dark Necrophere, Stygian Street Patrol removes himself from play, so that's a great way of getting him back. And of course you've got your opponent, who is generally going to remove stuff from play with Bottomless Trap Hole and other cards. So yeah, you have to be sure what you're putting in the deck is going to be useful. Now I've got loads of great synchro cards, but more often than not you'll find yourself just you got to make a judgment call. What card is going to win you the duel right here and now? Or you could play it for the long run and go, well, what card can I put down that's going to do direct damage, that's going to win me the duel in about 4 or 5 turns? So judgment calls are just as important as anything else. Other cards will have little bonus effects. One of my favourite cards in this deck is one of my biggest monsters, legendary Maju Garzette. He's like a bigger version of the other guy I was explaining about, but the guy who doubles their attack. Well, basically what this guy does is he's a special summon, and he destroys all your monsters on the field and gets their combined original attack. Now, I used this card by mistake before. I ended up wiping out my Goblin Kings. He didn't get their attack. I had an 8-star monster with 0 attack. So yes, watch out for that. It's only their original attack is what the legendary guy gets. But he's a game ender. He is seriously a game ender. The right positioning and the right timing of this card means duel over. Because not only does he get their combined attacks, he also does damage when they're in defense mode, piercing damage. That's it. That's game over right there and then for your opponent, because a lot of cards will have weak defenses, or they won't have the ability to block that attack while he's in defense mode. So long as you do this card right, it's over. I find myself winning a lot of duels with my Bakura deck before the 10th turn, for the simple fact that it's so easy to get cards out in the field, whether they're 1 summon and 2,000 attack, or they could be a synchro monster with maybe 2,000 to 3,000 attack as well, which make great fodder for this guy. He's just so good. Look at that, 6,000, and he does damage in defense mode. How do you fight that? Like, I've made a lot of decks since playing this game. I started off small, and then as I unlocked cards and certain different themes for decks, I just went hell for leather and made a heap of decks. I will tell you now, my favourite one out of all of them, no bias at all, is my Bakura deck. It finishes for duels so fast, it's so good with the combos, all the cards just flow and work together so well, and you need that, especially when you're going up against the challenge decks. You'll fly through the story mode, their decks aren't that good. They do use forbidden cards, which is a bit of a cop-out if you ask me, but it's the only thing they got going for them, because the rest of their cards are garbage. If you really want a challenge, you go and play the challenge decks. And my Bakura deck, even in its infancy stage, before I put in all the extra fiends from the 5Ds cards, it was still able to go through all the first set of challenge duels, and I battered everybody. There was no decks that really gave me, well, okay, there was a couple of decks that kind of put a spanner in the works, but I got through them all. You're gonna find it really hard against people when you start coming against guys like this, who can just synchro summon over and over, and you're sitting there and he's making his move for 10 minutes, just summoning, and you've got to keep reading all these card effects, because you're not quite sure if what he's doing is going to mess you up, or if he's doing it to benefit his own cards. But of course, in the end, you're still going to need simple defensive tactical cards, like your good old-fashioned Mirror Force, or cards that switch their defense positions. Obviously in this scenario, Mirror Force is going to get the job done. So that's the fundamentals of my Fiend deck. Really is the Goblin King, DNA surgery, and utilizing your tokens and of course your high attack monsters to just get them on the field as quickly as possible, strength in numbers, and I'm telling you now, it's such an effective deck. It wins a lot of the time. I'd like to do a win ratio, but hey, I suck at math. That's why I'm thankful they do the maths for me now. But you can see there's just so many combinations you can do with a deck like this, and XYZ monsters and synchro monsters, they are key to winning. I went to a tournament some years back, was totally unprepared, and they're the next level of getting high attack monsters out. So play around with it, see what works for you. Maybe if you find better Fiend cards or a better combination that might work or even improve on the Goblin King DNA surgery tactic, please do say it in the comments. Let me know what your favourite type of Fiend cards are, and if you've tried this deck out, let me know how you think. If it's good, if it's bad, what you'd change, and what mainly kind of what decks you came across that messed it up and kind of threw a spanner in your works. But yeah, thanks for watching my video, guys. This was my Bakura deck. Try it out, I hope you enjoy it, and stick around because I'll be making a lot more deck construction videos. I'll see you next time.